morning, folks. We have your lovely waivers to read. Please actually read it. And you shot? Never? I love newbies. That's what this is all about.
You guys are in the lineup for the indoor handgun range. Woo!
One year we had so many people come in and not enough help that year, and we had a 2.5-hour wait for handguns. But people gravitate for the handgun because it's that unknown. People think handguns are banned, they'll never get to shoot one in Canada. You gotta go to Vegas to rent a handgun. Nope, come here, pay your money, get your instruction, and we'll teach you to shoot a handgun. We're at the East Elgin Sportsmen's Association, located just outside of Aylmer, Ontario.
This is okay? Yeah. This one is 12 slugs.
And this is our 16th annual open house, where we open our doors to the public. They come in, pay a door fee to get in, pay for ammunition, and they shoot all the guns they want. Semi-automatic. Every time you pull the trigger, it's gonna fire one round, take out the empty, and reload. Back in that first open house in '99, we had 206 members. Now, after 16 open houses, we're almost at 900 members. There you go. Now get lined up, and with your thumb, just look at the fire. Squeeze, don't pull it, squeeze slowly.
I just thought it'd be good for the experience, at least once in their life, to try this out.
I've shot like an airsoft and stuff like that, but I've never shot a real gun with like real bullets or something. Mostly I wanted to come out because I've got a lot of personal opinion about how guns and how they operate and how I feel they are in society. So I figure I better speak from a position of trying it out once before I shoot my mouth off. Less regulation isn't the way to go. I think the more you got to focus in on training and licensing and background checks is what I would say for sure.
The people say we need more gun control, and to take our rights away will somehow make them happy. The anti-gun people want us gone, and they know how to do it. They're doing it piecemeal. It's death by 1,000 cuts. The laws right now hobble us to a great degree and to no end. So for us, we want our lives to be respected, our culture to be respected, and from a taxpayer's perspective, I don't want my taxpayer dollars wasted on useless legislation.
It feels different in the hand, you have a different rubber grip.
So this one has got a fully adjustable target sight on the back. And basically it's the same frame size and everything, just it's 9mm.
You're so funny.
This location, we've been here for about 26 years, I believe.
Your first barrel, which is your first trigger,
There you go.
right, is going to be modified, and then your second is full.
We have a big selection of handguns for the target shooters, competition shooters, and then target rifles and hunting rifles. Biggest seller now would be handguns. In part because they're afraid of the Liberals, if they get back into power, taking them away from them. The Liberals outright said that the only people that they felt should have firearms are the police and the military. You lose your right to have control of your own life and protect yourself. I mean, some of their reasonings behind banning some firearms and that, or restricting them, to me, is ridiculous.
Yeah, that's the nice thing with ARs.
I want to start putting some trigger locks back.
Take this out, brings your bolt out and all that stuff. Upper, you got to clean your buffer tube because there's grease in there, but that's about it. So these are the Benelli MR1. These are a tactical .223 rifle. They're a non-restricted rifle you can buy with your non-restricted license.
The short barrel is.
And then, in the exact same caliber, in the same sort of finish, is the AR-15s. This particular one is a Bushmaster, very similar to the Benelli MR1, but these are restricted. They come apart a little differently. So these are split into half into an upper and a lower. So this would be the lower, this is the restricted part, this is the upper. So these come in different barrel lengths, different calibers. You can change it depending on what you want to do. But these are restricted and you can only take them to the range. But at one point, you could buy this, take it out and go hunting with it, like it could have been Benelli, and then all of a sudden, they just went to restricted range only. You can only have certain models of them. It's just almost on a name or look basis now. They did that with guns like the AK-47s, Steyr AUGs, just because they look scary, they have a different function, but all of them are really a piston system or direct impingement.
They have a system that they use for, deciding whether it's a restricted or a non-restricted firearm. They claim that, it can be easily converted and this to do full auto and stuff. Well, your average person can't do that sort of thing.
The whole Firearms Act is terribly flawed. People have been complaining about it since its inception, so that we're looking at, 15, 16 years now. People have been screaming bloody murder about this because it is unfair. It's not only unfair, it's unjust. We've been pushing for the minister for quite a long time to be able to allow a panel, literally a committee of experts, real experts. The people who are doing this at the RCMP are only experts because their business card says so. At 11 o'clock, Minister Blaney announced that the new Common Sense Firearms Licensing Act was being tabled in the House of Commons today. It's started its process to becoming the law of the land. Virtually 80% of the things that are in this because the CSSA began to advocate for them. So now they've put a section into this act that will say that the minister can deem any firearm to be any category. Okay, and this way it overrides the unelected bureaucrats. CSSA's role in this is huge. We've been on the Minister's Firearms Advisory Committee going back 15 years or more. I was put in there because I'm one of Canada's experts. The idea that firearms in your society cause crime is no different than flies causing garbage, okay? The two of them are not related to each other, okay? And that would be in Prohibition Order 11 to 13, but it's quite simple. You now have the ability for the minister to name any firearm to be non-restricted, okay? It's pretty major power, to be honest with you. I think we can safely read between the lines there. I really believe they're going to look at classification changes, but it's not going to be till after the next election.
The firearms we used to see back in the 70s and 80s were almost all pistols. They carried 6 rounds. And so we would have shooting occurrences where 3 or 4 rounds would be fired. Now we have semi-automatic weapons with very large magazines. And it's not unusual to go to some of these shooting occurrences where 15 and 20 rounds have been fired. response to gun violence, most people want to have anti-gang initiatives. And if that's all you do, you can place some limits on the violence, but you will not make a really serious dent. And what you really got to do is help young people in those communities make better choices. And I think a lot of people that get involved in gun violence are, for a number of reasons, you know, they lack any kind of connection to their community, and so the more that we can create inclusive communities, socially cohesive communities, where young people feel that they have equal access to justice and opportunity, you know, where there's support for them and they feel respected, I think they're much more likely to make better choices, much more likely to avoid violent confrontation and not to be involved in gun violence. You know, we're not completely successful in keeping firearms out of the hands of gangsters in our city, and so we still do lose, you know, young people. It's almost always young people, far too often innocent bystanders, to gun violence in the city.
There's something called fulfilling prophecy, okay? What fulfilling prophecy means is if you are living up to some of those negative stereotypes, expectations, right? You're fulfilling that prophecy. How many of us are falling into the trap in terms of the negative perceptions, the negative stereotypes that have been put out there that we just gravitate to, that we, you know what I mean? That we just hold on to and just continue to perpetuate those.
The program is called Rise, Take Back Your World, Navigate Your Life. We're not here to guide, but we're here to empower.
People who are not in touch with themselves, who do not know themselves, who don't have that self-awareness or self-knowledge, are more likely or more susceptible to be, you know, victims of gun violence and to be also perpetrators of gun violence.
Where is this behavior that we have, how we act, everything with the guns, we need guns in the hood. The hoods clearly get shot up. That's why young people want guns to defend themselves, to put in work. Drugs is what funds. You want to look fresh, you want to look fly, you need drugs to flip in order to look like that image. But where did all this come from?
When I was 18, I never even thought I could go to university. I never thought that was possible. And I remember when I was signing up and I was trying to get into this program to get in, because, you know, I had to get my GED. And you know what the counselor told me, the guy told me? He goes, the program you're taking, he goes, you should probably take this one. It's a little longer, but he said, you know, it's better, you know, for people like you to help, you know, they're better for people like you. I'm like, no, I'm gonna do this one, and that's it. I take the class now, the first essay that we had came in. The professor goes, there's 1 or 2 essays I'd like to read that were the best essay. He goes, Amin, do you mind if I read your essay? Out of a class of 50, it was the best essay in the class. Telling me, oh, he didn't think people like me could fit in that class. Yeah. I was a top student in the whole class the whole semester.
When you grow up on racism, you know, it kind of attached to you. So it's like when you're growing up hearing all these things about yourself, you can either think for yourself and think like, okay, am I really gonna let them do this to me? Or you're just gonna be like, you know, maybe because they're saying this, it might be true. You know, it's just some certain people's mentality. They either believe it or they just realize that they're not gonna fall into it. Think that there is ways to change it. Like, there is ways to change it, you know what I'm saying? Like, in my neighborhood, people are thinking that easiest way to get out all the drug dealers is to break down the buildings and break down the townhouses and stuff and just move them out. But they don't understand, when you're a drug dealer, you're getting a whole bunch of money. He can buy one of the condos and still trap out the condos. Drugs and violence doesn't go anywhere, you know what I'm saying? This is my building. Crazy that they actually haven't broke it down yet. I used to do do everything and anything out of this building. Literally. Holy. I used to smoke weed in the friggin' stairwells, sell drugs in the lobby, the back of the lobby. People didn't even know I had a gun. Like, no one knew besides my younger brother, you know what I'm saying? And only because I felt like my younger brother needed to know. But I never told my friends, I never told my family, just my younger brother, and it was only for protection. Kind of just influenced by, you know, people around me and stuff, you know? Just something easy to you. You feels like you've already learned it and stuff. Yeah. I started pretty young still, at a young age. Young. 12, 13, pretty young. When you're from a hood, you can get anything possible. You can get a gun any way, how, it doesn't even matter. It's so simple. All you gotta do is ask a person. It's like getting crack. All you have to do is ask a person.
When I first started coming to Canada, it was about the drugs. And then when I started dealing with different people to purchase the marijuana, number one question that they would ask me, could I get firearms? Could I get firearms?
This call is from a federal prison.
It's like when you can get them 2 or 3, then they want 5 or 6, and 5 or 6 turns into 10, and then it just, you know what I mean, it kind of blows up from there. Well, at first I would use civilian vehicles. Then after a while, when it became, the load became a little bit too much, a little too heavy and bulky, I had actually recruited a couple truck drivers at the border. I would just throw money around, just, you know, just see what they say, and 95% of them would say no, but every once in a while you'll catch one who will do a delivery for you.
According to Mr. Tolliver, he trafficked over 500 guns into Canada. Typically, you see a handful of guns, but not, I mean, over 500. I mean, that's a large number for one individual. The guns were showing up all over Canada. They were used in robberies, shootings, homicides, abductions, drug investigations. It was pretty much an entire list of crimes that those guns were showing up and being used in.
The contrast between the city of Windsor and the city of Detroit. You know, they're separated by a little over a quarter of a mile of river. They're joined by a bridge and a tunnel. And firearms are very accessible on one side of that bridge and significantly restricted, particularly handguns, on our side of the bridge. And in a 3-year period a few years ago, there were 1,100 murders in the city of Detroit, a city of 750,000 people with 1,100 murders. And Windsor, with 250,000 people, had none. If all of those regulations and restrictions that encourage responsible gun ownership are diminished, then I think it will be more difficult to encourage that culture of responsibility for firearms owners that I think has helped us keep our community safe and our country safe.
SHOT Show is an industry show. The purpose here is to grow the industry. well over $200 billion a year for the civilian firearms industry. That's a lot of firearms. Hey, hey, how you doing? See ya. How you doing? Good. How are you?
Shake your hand anytime.
Oh, thank you, sir. That's very kind of you. Hi. Yeah, I think we've met before. Yeah, we love this place. This is a gigantic family gathering.
So new to Canada, we're bringing in this guy here. So it's the 92 FS compact in the Inox. Key is it's not a compact that takes us in a prohib classification.
Sure.
So we're not prohibiting. It's not a prohib
So
gun.
the barrel length has been specifically engineered for Canada.
That's right.
For the Canadian market.
And so we're just outside the minimum, so we're good. It's still classified as a restricted firearm. One of the neat parts here, if you look at the magazine extension, because it is a shorter mag. Now, of course, in Canada, we're going to run 10-round mags anyway, right? So of course,
so it doesn't matter,
that doesn't change.
Yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're doing a limited run in Canada with them for the first year.
Very, very comfortable. Like
Right,
the balance
nice.
is great. Of course, we're not allowed to buy any of those
Yeah,
ones, right?
I mean, when we look here, I mean, this is obviously we're getting into the U.S. market.
It always amazes me that this is perfectly okay and that one is not. You
That's
know,
right.
They're
Well,
almost
and
the
I mean,
same.
it's when we're comparing the lengths, you know, the barrel lengths of the overall actions between you know, what's prohib and what's not. You know, here's your differences there. I mean, as far as, you know, this one's restricted, this one's prohibited, so it's such a small difference that we start dealing with.
When I first started coming here, the standard reaction was, oh, Canadians are allowed to own guns? We didn't know that. And now, of course, they're coming up and slapping you on the back and going, attaboy for getting rid of that gun registry, because that was a world-class event. First time a major country has ever reversed such a significant piece of legislation.
I went to the Chiefs of Police Convention in Detroit, flew my own little airplane, landed in the downtown Detroit airport, and it looked like I was in Beirut. It was unbelievable.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, what's going on in Canada that's really hot right now? What kind of things are you looking at?
We've got a bunch of stuff going on. We've got C-42, which is a new bill. It's been entered into the House of Commons. We're going to get it passed before the 2015 election.
What does it do or not do?
It frees up a whole bunch of bureaucratic nonsense paperwork.
That's some of the same things, you know, we have here. They don't really go after the center. They go nibbling around the outside to kill, make it more expensive, more hassle, and you've got to cut those things down so they don't get to the center and kill everything.
We are one people. This is one culture. So when you're looking at the firearms use and ownership issues in Canada, they care about what happens in terms of how it will eventually affect them.
Okay, let's put this one up good.
Okay, so your SE46C, how come there's that blinking light down there, the one past that is going to be on the right-hand side? I guess you just make your way down there.
So, might as well put tables for the length of these two tents. Generally, we lose money the Saturday of the festival because my customers don't want to come and have to walk many blocks to bring a gun in for repair or buy something and then have to carry it so many blocks away. I'm gonna have to go in and get the coin box and everything. They can start to bring out the guns as long as somebody then stays out there with them.
Do we have the cables coming out?
Yeah, the cable's coming out.
Just want to put these at the bottom of the table for now?
Yeah.
We're in the process of getting set up for the Lock Street Festival. I can't say why. To piss everybody off on the street. One of our guys brings in his collection of military firearms and we'll be setting up a display of them. We've had flack the last couple of years when we've done it. Usually there's one person who tries to get the police to shut us down.
back in the day where the rules weren't as stringent as today, you were able to own these. Just go into the store and buy one. Yeah, you just needed a regular, what they called an FAC back in the day, and you can just go. There was no classification. There was, but not as detailed as it is now. So, 1995, Liberal government decided to change the rules, and here we are now with these fine instruments that cannot be used anymore.
Interesting to you?
Yeah, yeah.
One day when you get older, maybe?
Yeah. I fired it a lot.
Have you?
Yeah.
What do you think?
It's interesting.
Yeah.
But these, are they all functional models?
Oh, yes.
Or not?
They'll work.
Okay, so they're just for exhibition purposes, I guess.
Yes, but the gun store is right there.
All right, yeah. But you need a very special permit to
Yes.
play one of these things.
They have made it so you can get the paperwork to take them to the range. But technically, in the books, I can fire it. But it's a paperwork thing.
Yeah.
They don't issue the permits, so I can't take it.
I remember when I was in Florida, I was offered a 9mm handgun with 2 fully loaded clips,
Yeah.
$225.
Yep.
No, I think we got a couple.
The guns should not be allowed. The guns should not be allowed. I will.
There's an old lady pushing her walking cart up there, and she's like, "Guns should not be allowed."
I think the guys across the street, they consider it kind of unmanly to be like down on guns. The buttons are $2 or 3 for $5 to make. Or if you don't see one that you like that we made, then you can make your own. You know about that deal? We're the button pushers. We make and sell custom buttons and political buttons with political messages on them. We're surprised that you could bring military killing devices, you know, and put them on the street at a family festival. Like for a lot of people, that's kind of surprising that they have that legal right. And that's part of that culture. If they have the legal entitlement to put their guns on the street, then they will exercise that right. When I talk to the people that have come and talked to me that are clients and customers of the gun shop, and they ask me questions like, well, what would you do if, you know, someone with a gun breaks into your house and is, you know, pointing a gun at your child, and then they go through all of these intricate, violent scenarios, and I think if you start down that path of fear, there's a captivation that you can become powerful enough to make yourself safe. It's a really easy thing to exploit.
They do non-restricted stuff restricted.
It's hard to envision a culture of peace when that is your ideation and your fixation is on weapons.
Thank you anyway.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you.
He's a neighborhood resident who likes to spit on my customers' cars when they park in front of the store. I just ignore him. The last 2 years of the festival, he went the festival organizers and tried to get them to shut us down.
They're displaying guns, pointing at people. I thought it was a law that you're not allowed to display guns in public. So last year, when I saw this, I was like disgusted. Like, what? There's guns on display. It's a gun store, yeah, go inside. But not only on the sidewalk, on the street. And so I talked to an officer, and says, no, they're allowed doing that. I talked to the guy running this thing, he's like, yeah, they're allowed doing that. I'm not gonna go look at all the laws, but I thought I'd never ever seen guns on the street other than by officers.
He wants attention, is what he wants. He wants you to engage him and then see what he can do, how he can start. So I don't engage him at all.
I'm the gun guy. IPSC, range officer, black badge instructor. I teach handguns. CSSA, Canadian Shooting Sports, regional director, authorized handgun instructor for that. 3 Gun Nation competitor. I travel all over the place shooting guns. And I'm a licensed gun owner. Look at me.
Having gone through this semester, having looked at so many different instances of gun violence and representations of guns, my hope is that the students will use all that information to formulate questions to John that will allow us to then have a discussion about the contemporary role of firearms in Canada.
Frankly, I'm taking a cue from the gay lobby. You know, you look back in the 60s and it was this whole, homosexuality was frowned upon. It was all, you're in the closet and you came out of the closet. Did they take that? No, they knew that they were right. They knew they had a right to do what they wish in their lives. So they had the whole, we're queer, we're here. They have gay pride parades. In the original times, they were derided for that. How dare you have these parades? Now, you've got mayors and prime ministers running in the parades. They've normalized it. They came out and said, I'm proud to be gay. I'm proud to be a gun owner. So it's that same philosophy that if you make it normal and you explain to people and educate them, here's what I'm doing, here's why it's good, here's why it's safe, here's why you should try it. Your nice sweater, your jacket, your poncho, whatever you've got on, your shoes, very fashionable, those are wants. Our society is predicated upon wants. I want my semi-auto. Why? Yeah, because I want it. Your democracy, your 99.9% of Canadian society does not overrule my rights. Why? Because they're mine.
Obviously, a line has to be drawn somewhere. I mean, I'll give you an example. Like, I'm a military engineer. I am fully trained in C4 high explosives. Can I have that?
Recreational explosives, there's not much use for it. But if you want to blow up a bomb in your backyard and you're competent enough, knock your socks off. I think it's a big waste of money, but people do it all the time. They got drag strips. She's next.
These mass shootings that we see, a lot of them are happening with legally obtained guns. For example, Sandy Hook, right? So
I would differ on the Sandy Hook was not committed with a legally obtained firearm. He had to kill his mother to get it.
Well, it was his mom.
Right, but his mom, and you look at that situation, as tragic as it is, that's where she screwed up. If my children were unstable, would I have guns in the house? No, I would have no guns. My knives would be blunt and short.
But not every parent is able to recognize that,
right,
because they could have their own mental health issues.
With any society, there are risks. Living together, there are risks. And one of the penalties we have for living together are the Sandy Hooks. Does that mean I am willing to sacrifice these kindergartners on that altar of democracy or freedom? No. I'll try and prevent that, reduce it as much as possible, but it is reality. It's sad as it is. We have a highway system. Cars go fast. People die on the highways. Should we get rid of highways? No, because the benefit of having a highway structure outweighs the cost of those deaths.
Whatever system was implemented back then in Ontario, it was extremely difficult to acquire firearms in Ontario. The availability of firearms at that time was...
This call is from a federal prison.
Sorry about that lady, she always pops in. That at that time were pretty low. So, it's kind of supply and demand. The supply was low and the demand was high, so, it naturally would cause a higher markup.
The
on the street, you can get them anywhere from 50 to 100 bucks in good condition, which would be a lot easier and a lot cheaper. And you would be able to go to Canada and sell them for anywhere from $1,500 to $2,500, depending on what kind they were and who you're selling them to. So whatever that system they had, it seemed to have worked, because I never one time met anyone that got a firearm from a gun store in Ontario.
In this investigation, the source state was Kentucky and Ohio. I mean, that's where the guns were being purchased at the gun shops. Federal law is uniformed all across the United States, but each state has their own specific laws. For instance, here in Michigan, you have to register your handguns. There are plenty of states in the United States where there is no handgun registration. So some states might have tougher gun laws than others. So that's kind of, I think the criminals they know that, and so you'll see the guns coming from those source states where maybe the laws aren't as stringent as they are in some of the other states.
They've been a steady stream of them coming from the States for years and years and years. Because here, you have to rob somebody to get them.
Person who lives up the side street saw it happening, so he called the police. They never did catch them. The guns were found, they hid them up the street. We were shut down for 2 weeks till we could get everything cleaned up and put back into everything replaced and opened up again. This weekend we're selling off everything from when we were robbed. All the damaged stuff.
Some of the scratches here on the barrel from glass or whatever banged into it, right? All along there. So this is regularly, so 548. A new one will cost you $845, right? So 548, $300.
Worth getting up early to get a good deal.
Well, I had a customer whose home was broken into a few weeks ago and he had 20 handguns stolen. That's how the criminals get them.
There we go. That's why the Benelli's so big. Because they have this. Yeah. No, this
It's getting tougher to smuggle guns in across the border, and so people who want to acquire firearms illegally are pursuing other means.
I wouldn't get rid of it right off the bat.
There is no one thing to do. You can't just cut off the supply. Supply interdiction, I think it's an important part of the solution to the problem, but supply interdiction in and of itself is not going to be sufficient. You have to reduce the demand for firearms.
I think if we'd been in an American city and easy access to guns, we would have a very much higher homicide rate in the city of Toronto and obviously a lot more gun violence, but one is too many. Gun means power. Gun can mean money also. I mean, a lot of guns are used in robberies. A lot of guns obviously are used in terms of intimidation and obviously retribution. If somebody does something to you, that's what guns are usually used for in our communities.
Every man in this room will try to go out and make money right now.
if you had a girl that was pregnant for you saying, I need some money. But what you might be doing may jeopardize you. So you may be trying to do something that could better her situation and the situation for your child, but it's like, once you get that record, then the cycle continues.
So often in communities where a lot of the young people are coming from, and where I've come from myself, have been disempowered, and even in choices. Why in our community is there such a deficit in fatherhood? Let's hear that.
Like, a lot of these fathers are young, you know what I mean? Like, when they get their, you know, when you have your first kid, it's usually like 16 or 15 or something like that. I mean, I had my kid young, you know? I just turned 18, you know what I mean? I knew I could have been there more, but, you know, like, the game's a game, you know? Like, if you're selling drugs and stuff and you have a kid on the road and stuff, like, you know what I mean? You're gonna take losses, you know what I'm saying? You're not gonna be there for 2 months.
Do you think it's easier for you to leave a female because it's not something, it's something you've seen? Like, it's something your dad probably left you, your brethren's probably bounced on their, you know, their baby mothers. Do you feel would you feel like it's something?
It's not even that you necessarily leave. You're just not doing nothing because you can't do nothing. You can still be there calling, picking him or her up, but you're just not doing nothing because you can't do nothing. You're broke. You're broke.
No, but why can't you get that money though? What's stopping you from getting that money?
You got a criminal record. He's not providing nothing physically, but it's not like I'm saying he's not there telling him, oh, if you see this, don't do this. Okay. He's there doing that, but besides that, he can't do nothing else. That's a half father.
Okay. This is my wall, my family wall. It has everybody and anybody on here that means anything to me, so. This is my great-grandmother. Next to, I have everything in here, my brothers, me and my brothers, my mom when she was younger. One of my best friends that died. He died January 18, 2013 in a Regent building. He was shot in the stairwell. He bled out before they even got him in the ambulance. It's like a timeline, kind of. Like, from when I was younger till now. It shows me, like, all the good times and, like, the bad times. The pictures mean something to me, you know? Like, it literally helps me with everything. Like, whenever I feel sad about things, I literally just stand here and just look at all the pictures and, you know, see all the smiles. And, you know, it just brings me back to, like, makes this room actually feel like my room now, you know? Yeah. So, these are all my siblings' medals. I'm the oldest of 6. I don't think, like, the first couple of years of my life I've been a good example, but, you know, I tried my best. Being from the hood, and when you do hood stuff, you know, it's a trap, completely a trap. Yeah, it's not the life I want to be in. I don't want to be caught up in that. I don't want to have my siblings crying because I'm in jail for something I did, you know? Or crying because I'm in jail for something I didn't do, but I'm affiliated with, you know? Yeah. These show me why I'm an older sibling still. And how much they mean to me and how much, you know, I mean to them. And that I can't continue to do the things I was doing before. Life has to change in order to make their lives better, you know? It's not just about me anymore.
I really don't know how you deal with these hideous little monsters that want to go and kill each other with guns over drugs and money. My job is to take our flock and safely shepherd them into honest, legitimate, safe sporting usage of firearms.
This has been a very great day for all of us. I was very proud to stand today beside Mr. Stephen Blaney, as well as so many of my colleagues, as we introduce the Common Sense Firearms Licensing Act.
So this is my friend Gary Breitkreitz. Gary is like the godfather of gun politics in Canada.
Without Tony and his advice, I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing. He's become actually the expert off the Hill that I depend on to look at the legislation and analyze it for the implications that might be involved. He's been the brains of the outfit. I might have been the mouth, but he's been the brains. Yeah. No, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's true. Absolutely. You don't do this in a vacuum. You don't do this by yourself. I've had wonderful staff. It is absolutely teamwork.
How are you?
Doing fine.
Good,
doing fine.
good.
Thanks for coming out.
Oh, hey, thanks for all the work you guys have been doing. It's been great.
It's been a great day.
Can we have our picture taken?
Oh, sure.
Take your hand then.
Oh, absolutely. There we go. Now we got to move.
Thank you very much, Tony. Without your support and patience.
Yes, sir?
Well, it takes a lot of patience to deal with politicians.
Hey, Tony, that's for you.
Oh, thank you.
I got you a copy.
Thank you. Oh,
Okay.
Get the picture. Out you go. Is that it? All right. I've worked with ministers all the way back to Anne McClellan. You're the best minister I've ever worked with.
Well,
thank you. I got my own copy. Did you get your own copy?
Not yet.
I do see a trend here that of piecemeal changes to firearms control in Canada to more resemble the firearms regime in the United States. My responsibility is to ensure that licensees adhere to all the laws and regulations relating to firearms. In Ontario, we've always had a very restrictive regime about the movement of handguns, and we're trying to maintain that. And Quebec has a similar one. Welcome, everyone, and this is our, I believe, our 7th annual Clubs and Ranges seminar, and I see a lot of familiar and friendly faces out there, so welcome. I'm glad to see you all back here again. I think these seminars have real value. I am a member of the OPP, have been for over 34 years. Now, I caused a bit of a stir back in January 2013 when I said, as a condition on your authorization to transport, that if you're going to a gun club, not your own, you had to be able to come up with an invitation. And the first guy who got one of these ATTs, just by accident, happened to be Tony Bernardo. And he obtained a hearing to contest the condition. And my counsel came up with what I thought was a very innovative type of approach to the law, which basically says, the judge can only rule on whether you get a refusal or a revocation of your license or authorization, but he can't monkey around with the conditions that the chief firearms officer puts on an authorization or license. And I'm sitting beside Tony, because we're kind of friendly, right? We meet periodically. And Tony said, "What just happened there?" I said, "Tony, you lost." Well, I think he kind of got me back with this last bill, right? Where I think I'll be limited in terms of the conditions I can put on licenses and authorizations. An ATT, long-term, means you don't have to ask every time you want to go to all shooting clubs, all border points, all gunsmiths, and all verifiers. So that basically gives you the legal justification for having your handgun with you in your vehicle at all times. It'd be very difficult for the police to prove that you weren't, having your firearm in an unauthorized place.
I've got pockets full of ammo.
I would not want to see Canada move in a piecemeal fashion to a firearms regime like they have in the United States. I think we have a very good gun control regime in Canada, but I wouldn't want to see it weakened any further.
C-42 would allow handguns and assault weapons to be freely transported in a trunk anywhere within a province, even left parked outside the Canadian Tire or a local hockey arena. Imagine if the car carrying these weapons were broken into or stolen. This bill also takes classification decisions on guns away from police and puts them in the hands of politicians. Both these provisions threaten Canadians' safety. Will the government remove them from C-42?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
The fact of the matter is, under this law, current law, and this law, Mr. Speaker, firearms can only be transported between specific locations. They must be in a locked case, they must be in a trunk, and they must be unloaded. And Mr. Speaker, those are the facts, but we expect this kind of distortion from the party that brought in the long gun registry and is itching to bring it back.
Breaking story now. Their shots have been fired on Parliament Hill in Ottawa. This is just coming in.
The Ottawa City Police and the RCMP have created a perimeter around Parliament Hill. Several shots fired. We don't know exactly how many. There are conflicting reports on the number of shots.
Witnesses saw the suspect running toward Parliament Hill. They describe him as wearing all black and carrying some sort of large gun.
There was a shooting at the National War Memorial. A soldier who was on guard there has been gunned down.
They started performing CPR on that soldier, and he was taken away in an ambulance. We are still waiting for an official update on his condition at this time.
How's business been? Good?
Yeah, yesterday was high traffic because obviously they were, the convoy was coming from Ottawa and stuff. They just went up Main Street here.
Yeah, we saw it.
Yeah, I actually got it on
we
tape.
went by the armory.
We down the armories this morning.
Yeah. Yeah, it was sad. I went to go get a burrito. I didn't even know it was going on, and I went to go get a burrito and saw the police and crowds and everything. I was like, what the hell's going on? And sure enough, it was him going by in the
procession.
Yeah. Sad.
It is very sad. Just to walk up to somebody like that in the middle of the day.
Yeah.
The guy who just committed, shot the soldier, he had a prohibition from owning firearms. He wasn't allowed to have a firearm, so somebody has given him that gun. He was refused a license. He had applied. So now they're going to try and track and see who gave that to him. There's always going to be something illegal. They need to enforce the sentence and make it a bad sentence for when you use an illegal firearm in the commission of a crime. Problem is that they don't make it a deterrent. It's not a deterrent.
I'm doing grandma duty. I'm a surrogate grandmother for him. Yep. He's like, it looks like fun in here. What are you doing, Jack?
I do all my tidying in vain. Watch your head, you don't want to hit these.
We both want to go. Shoot for the day. The grips aren't suitable.
I'm John Evers. I'm Regional Director for CSSA. I like to think of our NRA North. We do have a lobbyist in Ottawa, Tony Bernardo. He's in there helping the government understand what needs to be done in terms of changing the laws. Frankly, if you look around this place, you guys are the youngest guys here.
That's true.
So we need you to jump in and become the next generation of leaders.
I have 2 mags for this one. Keep it pointed down over here, though.
$45 is your membership fee. The real reason you should join is what we do in Ottawa.
Somebody came up to me this morning and said that the Bill 42 is stalled.
And I understand why.
Wow.
Because of the current climate.
Sure.
I know, and trust me, do you know how much CSA worked on that? So again, what I have to say is...
So it'll have to quiet it down.
Yeah, and then bring it back. But the problem is we're running out of time in election.
I know.
You know, but again, and people get upset that we haven't done it fast enough. The bill C-42, it was scheduled for debate on Wednesday when the shooting occurred. It's now been shelved. I don't know when it will come back, or if it come back, for that matter. It was an illegal firearm by a man who was already a felon. He already had a criminal record. There's no way he could ever obtain a firearm legally, okay? He also tried to rob a McDonald's with a pointed stick because he wanted to go to jail because he wanted help. He screamed for help and didn't get help from our system. So we had a mental health breakdown of our system, caused my law to be delayed, the one I've been fighting for. So it's saddening to see that happen. Has it killed it? I don't know. We've got a year till the election. We need to get it in before the election.
Mulcair said it was important for police in Canada to track every gun while at the same time making sure Canadians are protected. His quote, "An honest duck hunter registers his 4x4 truck, his trailer, heck, even his dog," Mulcair said. What kind of duck do you need to shoot with an assault weapon, a pterodactyl?
Let's talk about what the gun laws are in Canada right now. You have to have a license. All restricted firearms are registered. All firearms in the province of Quebec are still registered, and yet we saw things like the Parliament Hill shooting with a firearm that came from Quebec, and if the registry works so good, why did it stop that? Well, it doesn't work.
Part of that narrative, I think that, to me, it seems like the obvious answer is always, well, the bad guys aren't going to register the guns.
Right.
And then the other side always comes back with a what if the guns are stolen? Your organization, what is it that you're doing to ensure that the changes made on behalf of your members and all gun owners?
We're trying to make sure that the people understand that what Mr. Mulcair and Mr. Trudeau are saying is nonsense. It's completely not true. And we need people to understand that. And it's great that Sun is able to get that message out to Canadians.
Okay, we appreciate you being here and
Thank you.
taking our questions. Thanks very much, Tony Bernardo.
I think I would justify it in my mind saying that, well, I'm not doing the crime, and they would pretty much get it from someone else anyway. Well, I know one was used, I think the biggest mass murder in Ontario history, with a biker guy, and I think it was like 6 or 7 victims. I actually found out on the news and I saw it. And then the next day, the OPP came to see me. When they traced the firearm, it actually linked back to someone who claimed that they bought the firearm for me as a straw purchaser.
The classic straw purchase. It's somebody who buys a gun, has the right licensing and permits to acquire it, a restricted firearm. And we've had a couple of cases, criminal investigations in Toronto, where the individual then ground the serial number off those firearms and sold them on the illicit market. We've only seen it in Toronto in the past 2 years. We had 2 individuals who went out and acquired, and I don't remember the precise number, but I think it was about 30 and even 50 guns, acquired them quite legally and over a relatively short period of time, and then disposed of those guns, ground the serial numbers off, and then sold them on the street. We managed to recover about 8 of those firearms through various investigations. And when we raised the firearms and we discovered that this was a firearm registered to a new gun purchaser, we discovered that the time to crime for those guns was only a matter of days. They'd acquired the gun legally and then disposed of it within a matter of days, and within a very, very short period of time, those firearms were being used in criminal offenses, in shootings and murders and robberies.
I did have one of those instances where somebody had bought something and it ended up in the wrong hands. And I think they were able to track it through the registration process. And then they wanted me to basically call them if he came into the store so that they could come and get him here.
For the instructor course? Yep. Bring his license. Okay. Have fun, guys. Take care.
The only reason they want you to do that is because then they don't have to go through the whole warrant process. It makes their job easier. If somebody's doing something illegal like that, it's not right, and I don't like, it ends up giving all of us bad names, but I'm also not going to jeopardize my business.
I put an order in for the new CAS 15.7 by Colt. It's basically an AR platform in 223.
Yeah, it is a nice light.
Made by Colt, Demeco, Canada.
Wow.
So built here right near in Kitchener.
Oh yeah.
Paulette went for a tour at the plant 2 weeks ago, and she came back with excellent manufacturing reviews.
This is the first time they've ever done anything for the civilian market. Of course, they don't have the full auto control on it. It's just basically semi-auto. If a war is over, then the company has to continue producing stuff. So I think a lot of them are probably going to look to the commercial market and make something that's very similar to what the military has. A lot of people want to have what they have.
Three-gun shooting. It's actually under the auspices of a group called Three Gun Nation. It's an American organization to organize three-gun shooting.
Stand by.
From my experience, this would be the second best match in North America. Should be 250 competitors. This is sponsored by FNH, Fabrique Nationale Herstal. They're a Belgian gun manufacturer that has now operations in the United States. They build a lot of the military weapons. And three-gun is the tip of the sword for the civilian world. So if we embrace a technology, it spreads from there, because everyone wants to play with the cool kids, right? So that's what it comes to. If we're playing it, if it works for us, it'll work for the guy in his backyard shooting.
The sponsorship has really come on strong in the last 5-6 years. Some manufacturers are, setting aside, tens of thousands of dollars for matches like this just for their promotion.
112.
And with our product line, it fits in very nice since we have shotguns, pistols, and rifles. So for us, it's a perfect fit. You know, the FNH USA brand is growing very fast because of our activity here in 3-gun.
Okay, so I've got to change my shotgun over from Canadian rules to American. So what we have here is a rod inside to keep us from breaking Canadian laws. And this will keep this shotgun in particular to 5 rounds of 3-inch Magnum, which allows 6 rounds of 2 3/4, which is our standard shell. So this rod keeps me out of jail, which is kind of nice. I do advise that. And then we put on a standard cap. Now that's epoxied, so it can't be changed. So right now, this gun holds nothing because they'll just fall out. So now it's no longer a magazine. Now I put a standard cap back on, it will hold 12. Why would I want to have 12 is strictly for strategy. I should be shooting, not reloading. Again, this whole thing's based on time. So before we cross the border, we put the rods back in and make it all nice and, you know, safe. Otherwise, all the kittens in Canada die. It's quite horrible. We're kind of an underground movement of people having fun safely. And it's exciting, and the more people see it, they're like, wow, I really want to do that. So give me 10 years, and we'll have that being an Olympic sport. That 3-gun will come on board and be mainstream, not in the shadows trying to hide.
Are you ready?
There's not a lot of kids in our area that shoot, but we try to get them to a couple of different camps each year. There's one out in Idaho, a junior camp, and then here in June, there was a 3-gun junior camp that was held. You'd have, anywhere between, 15 and 60 kids.
You want to just get to where you can just look at it and know what your hold is without looking down at the paper through the entire sequence in order.
Are you spotting for me, Mark?
Yep.
Breath 5 and 6.
Yeah.
200-yard dot.
200 what?
200-yard dot.
Right.
3 3/4.
3 at 3/4, right?
3 at 3/4. 3 at 3/4.
When I'm not on active duty with the Marine Corps, I work as a police officer in Wisconsin, and I would generally feel that there are very few laws that do any good.
Stand by.
We just come out here, we have a good time, and outside of here, you might be making phone calls to all your congressmen, your senators. You may be doing any number of things to try and keep the sport alive, but there are times when it can look pretty gloomy that there are people who, if they could, would not allow this at all.
My American colleagues, we have many discussions about firearm safety and firearm regulation. I will tell you that the chiefs have always been envious of the regulatory regime that exists here in Canada. They would very much like something like that to help keep their community safe because they experience extraordinary levels of gun violence.
Hi, my name's Alex.
Hi. I'm gonna have to photocopy this for you.
Okay.
If you can please put your first name, last name, and your phone number, and then when you're done, have a seat so I can take your pictures.
Okay. Coming here is a different experience for me.
Okay, look at the camera. Smile, say cheese.
Cheese. For me, I feel like things are getting better. Like I'm reaching I'm reaching a goal that I never knew how I would reach there, so. Am I allowed to take one of these pens?
Yeah, go ahead.
I think everything that's going on in my life for like the past 4 years has been a big change. Now I'm seeing that, like, I'm 18, I haven't even graduated high school yet, so it's like, you know, I feel like I've wasted 4 years of life not doing anything. I've been in and out of schools, been kicked out of how many schools. Took a year off of school. I can't do things that I want to do by just staying at my house doing nothing.
I'm Lori, guidance counselor.
Alex.
Have a seat. And now we'll just take a look. We'll start off with looking at your credits. Okay, so you've earned 4 credits already, and you need 30 to graduate in Ontario, so
we'll have some time.
Some time, exactly. You have some time. You're 18, so.
I'm trying to get the credits that I need in order to go to college after.
Okay. Do you have any idea what you'd like to study in college?
Culinary arts and journalism.
Oh, it's wonderful. We do have.
It's a weird mix, but.
No, that's okay.
It's okay.
It's okay. We do have a small culinary arts program here. We offer cooking and baking, so you may want to take those classes. And as it was one of the teachers puts it, it's a great class. You not only get a credit, you get to eat
and
what you
make.
make.
I can eat my credit. That's
you can eat your credit.
To be honest, it's okay, but like it scares me a little bit. Because like, I'm so used to just, you know, just going with everything. So it's like now knowing that like there's a base to something that I want to do and it's gonna take me 3 years to get there, it's kind of scary.
There are certain societal values that we all adhere to, or the vast majority of us adhere to, which is inclusiveness, which is we value our safety, we value each other, and we value the manner in which we live together and that harmony. And I think that, and encouraging that and supporting that in all of our communities is the strongest path to public safety and the reduction of gun violence.
I think most of our members are very happy because we've made a number of baby steps forward, and this is another one. We're about 11 or 12 different pieces of legislation or regulation that we've managed to successfully pass. So it's been going good, and like people look at something like this and they go, it's just a little step. But when you have a whole lot of little steps, you're really starting to go somewhere, right?
Zero licensing, zero background check, full auto, concealed carry, everything. No controls. Do you believe it's practical? No, sadly it's not, because Canada's not ready for it. But we'll keep fighting till they are.